Hello everybody, here we are. Jordana had mentioned something about a sort of a primer on how to get assets into game, like what exactly needed to exist in order for that to happen. And so I'm going to make a quick crack at it here by a tutorial video. Hopefully it works out. So if you look here, basically I've got the entirety of all of the assets that were given to me through the CC4 file, and what I did was I just dragged and dropped them here into GIMP. I mean, if you don't have to necessarily use GIMP, you could probably use Photoshop, but if you're feeling incredibly indie at the time, you can definitely use GIMP, and that's what I do normally, as I don't have Photoshop. Anyway, so basically what you do is you just arrange all of your stuff here like this, right? And this is a 2048 by 2048 deal here, which means that it is, it's a power of 2, which is really the way a lot of things should be when it comes to assets in game development. There's reasons for that I'm not going to get into. Just know that they are the sort of thing that make your game better. So just do them. That's all there is to it. And it's the same thing with the sprite sheet here. And so say I were to take a look at some things here and I wanted to start populating this, like with GIMP it's really nice because you can just drag it and drop it, and you've got 1, you've got 2, and you've got 3. And ideally you'd have a transparent background here. You'd export it to a like this. I just exported to a PNG file, and then you take that into Unity, and Unity, I did not know this before today, but it has this really cool thing that I wish I had invented, but I did not, called a sprite editor. And so if you go in here and you have your assets, and I have this folder called sprites, and here's our sprites, and we've got this sprite sheet here, and what you do is you go up here and you say, this sprite, and instead of being a single sprite, it's going to be multiple sprites. So I mean, this saves memory, it saves render loop time. It is just the best way to do things when it comes to this sort of thing. And so then you can open up this thing called the sprite editor, and in here you basically have the ability to make your invisible squares of whatever it is you're going to be, throwing into the game, and it then turns that square that you mark off in this sheet into its own separate sprite, but it uses the exact same amount of memory as it would if you're using any other part of this sheet. So no matter what part of the sheet you use, you can use it as many times as you want. Say you want to have an element duplicated twice in a scene, it's going to use this exact same memory no matter what's going on, and it never has to change it. It's a lot faster. It's great. Anyway, I've pretty much beaten that to death by now. A cool function, didn't work very well on this particular thing, is this slice up here. You can do an automatic slice, or you can do a grid. If you're doing a character animations, it's usually better to do a grid, and you just set up dimensions of your grid, and then you have, up here you've got your offset, padding, and pixel size, and if I wanted a 64 by 64, I could do a grid of 64 by 64 squares, as long as I knew that that was where everything is. Up here you can do automatic, and you just hit slice and it does things. It worked terribly on this for some reason, it had cut out parts of this. Ooh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. It cuts little cuts out in here of these. It had them as their own separate sprite. That was really problematic, and I mean, you just delete those. But yeah, I mean, it's really super straightforward. You just drag your square around whatever it is you want to have. Oops. And that's the centerpiece. Whatever it is you want to have in the game, just drag the square around it, and it will pixel perfect pick that up and take it to your game. Super cool stuff to know. And then as far as actually, say you want to see what you've done in the game, how it looks, maybe you want to scale it, or just see how it would look on the background or on the current scene that the developers are working on at that time. Um, you would quite literally, like down here you've got your sprites, and you quite literally just open up your sprite and you see all of these things, and you can even name them to be like names of things that make sense if you want. I didn't do that this time because I was just not really into doing all of this. But anyway, you can go down here and I can grab this and go into the scene, and normally it just lets me drag and drop. Yep, if you go to 2D mode, you can quite literally just drag and drop your sprites, any piece of them, any number of times. You can rotate them, you can resize them. And you can even reorder them depending on their order and layer. Like right here it says 0, I could set that to 1 or to like negative 100, and it's just way back there. I think right now it's using a floating point definition. I'm not really sure. But yeah, as long as you give it an order in the layer, it's good. And you even have these things called sorting layers, which will be great for parallaxing. Like right now I'm working on a parallaxing demo, so I've got foreground, background, playground, and all that other good stuff. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Hope this was terse enough to get the point across, but at the same time